I have an important confession to open this video. We have stunk at what I'm about to teach you. I blame it on Maureen. No, sadly, I can't do that. It's completely my fault. Until recently, this fantastic opportunity in corporate sales and partnerships had been in my blind spot. I'm truly embarrassed. What is it? Bulk sales of physical excerpts of your book. A couple of years ago, I had lunch with Terry Palmer, a publishing industry veteran and very savvy book marketer. We were meeting to talk about a new project she was working on, but of course, I hijacked the conversation and moved it over to special sales. I noted that many majors weren't particularly strong in that area, and her rebuttal intrigued me. Well, Wiley is outstanding. I worked in their corporate sales department for years, and we had great success. Then she rattled off a long list of major companies they had partnered with. It was impressive. A week later, a package arrived at my office from Terry. It was filled with examples of the deals she had mentioned. Most, not all, but most were built around Wiley's iconic Dummies series of books. Except none of the examples, none were in full book form. They were all excerpts. Some were 32 pages. One was as thick as 128. Some were staple bound. Others were perfect bound. Some were tiny little things, only 4 inches by 6 inches, but a few were 5.5 by 8.5, the same cover dimensions as many conventional books. They were all over the map, but they were all excerpts. It's funny, but until I held them, until I looked closely at them, until I almost played with them, I hadn't thought through the huge advantages excerpts bring to the purchasing company. Advantages that make it much easier for the publisher or author to strike a deal. The first thing that jumped out at me was just how big a plus the smaller size of the excerpts was. Mailing costs, if sent as standalones, will be way lower than a much heavier full book. But more importantly, many were so thin and light they could easily have been put into a mailing that was already going out without increasing its cost. A mutual fund company, for example, sending out its annual report could include a 4-inch by 8-inch, 32-page excerpt of, let's say, Dummies for Personal Finance for Dummies, a great book, and it wouldn't raise their shipping costs. Try that with your traditional 5.5 by 8.5, 224-page paperback. That alone is a big difference maker. Even if the buying partner isn't mailing the excerpt, the smaller size really helps in some other instances. Passing out copies at a bank branch or in a cell phone store, less expensive by far per unit to ship the lighter excerpts there, and they take up much less storage space. Trust me, that's a major consideration in those types of deals. The second big positive that screamed at me going through Terry's examples was the point I mentioned in the video on e-excerpts. It's much easier to match a company's brand focus, its message, its solutions to part of a book than to a whole book. Because of our success in the special sales arena selling our complete books, I hadn't really examined this issue closely enough before that day, but man, I should have. Now that I get it, I read very few nonfiction books where I can't see at least one good match between a potential excerpted section and a well-known company's brand or target demographic. Note that last part, target demographic. Even if an excerpt isn't speaking to a company's message, if it appeals to the company's customer base, it can be leveraged. Mo, throw me any book over there. Grab literally any book. I don't care what. This is not prepared. Okay, better and faster. The proven path to unstoppable ideas. All right, interesting, okay, great title, really has done well. There's nothing in this excellent book on office supplies, but an excerpt would be a great fit with Staples. Staples covets the entrepreneur market, the home office market, and that's one of this book's big targets too. Easy. The third thing that leapt out at me is the obvious one. These excerpts don't cost much to print. We priced a bunch of sizes at big volumes, 100,000 or more. Amazingly, that's the norm with excerpt deals. And costs were as low as 30 cents a unit. A colleague told me that his publishing firm recently struck a deal selling 400,000 64-page excerpts. They charged the client 95 cents per, and their all-in costs were 45 cents per excerpt. That's $200,000 in profit. Now, can you do these deals at lesser volumes? Of course, but obviously the client will have to pay a little bit more and/or you'll accept lower margins. We priced one last year for only 30,000 copies and the client still loved the math. Another interesting point about the excerpt approach is that we've had a couple of companies' marketing executives tell us that they think the readership rate is higher for excerpts they've distributed than for full books they've given out in other campaigns. Why? Their guess, quite simply because the excerpt is shorter. So there's that theme again. They also mentioned that one of the biggest benefits of using whole books as a giveaway, the company's brand exposure on the front cover, is still in play here. You could still do that, but again at a much lower cost per unit. If the excerpt is well chosen and contains valuable information, the receiving customer often keeps it around for a long time, unlike a gift card or a coffee mug. Look, you can tell that I'm excited about the possibilities here. The flexibility, the lower printing costs, the ease of shipping, the higher odds of message massing, a powerful combination, and the proof is in the pudding. I've talked to a lot of companies' CMOs, chief marketing officers, and some advertising agency executives about this idea. They all see its potential. Does that mean that deals are falling off trees? I wish. You're still going to have a high rejection rate and lots of challenges, but I'm telling you, this is fertile ground, and Wiley's really the only one out there smart enough to have been farming it on an ongoing basis. Join them. Remember, not only could this be an excellent profit center, but also the distributed excerpts will lead to lots of other book sales. Put your thinking cap on here. I've always liked that expression, put your thinking cap on.